Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! Who the fuck is that guy?
I love you! My balls are hot.
Oi, oi! Oi, oi! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Across the Cage. If you haven't forgotten, my name is Stefan, and I'm the host of this show, host of this podcast. And welcome and thank you for joining me. I've had a couple of weeks off. Ridiculous schedule. I do apologise once again. Last week was extremely hectic. Obviously, I was down in Melbourne for UFC 243, which will take up probably the bulk of this episode. But just some housekeeping, I think, for me, since going on this journey by myself, I've tried to, I guess, try and find the best, what's the word for it, formula to get content out, which I guess, not so much struggled with, but I guess I found a little bit difficult at times over the past, I guess, 3-4 weeks. So I think it's best, in terms of changes, I think it's best that from 2 episodes, I'll push it back down to 1. And I'll look to release an episode roughly around Wednesday, Thursday. So this one today is recorded on Thursday evening, Thursday at 8:29 p.m. Now you're probably wondering why I'm wearing this hat. Wouldn't have a bloody clue why I'm wearing a hat. And it's indoors, so it makes zero sense whatsoever. Wednesday, Thursday, I'll look to push out some content, and then obviously start getting more involved in terms of fan engagement, jumping online the Facebook page, Instagram page, and whatnot. So yeah, that's the housekeeping done. Now that's the only housekeeping I've done in 26 years of my life. So feel privileged. UFC 243 on the weekend, happened on the weekend, and I'd like to, I guess, commend Melbourne and Australia for putting on such a fantastic show. I think where I was sitting, there were only, from memory, I think there were maybe 1 or 2 incidents in the crowd. Now, I don't really know what the incidents were. I think they were just people probably too intoxicated. But the fanfare outside of the arena, the way that everything was set up, how smoothly it all went, it was an amazing experience. That was obviously my first UFC event, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Did buy some merch. Now, this is just, before I dive into the card, let me just break down the merch. Now, the merch is ridiculously expensive, but because I'm rich. No, I'm not rich. I picked up a shirt, just a commemorative UFC 243 shirt in the front, and then the poster at the back. $50. Now, is the shirt made out of napkins? Yes, it is. Definitely is. Now, if you sweat, does the shirt disintegrate? Definitely does. Now, I wore it on the event. Will I wear it again? No, I won't. But hey, if you want to pick up a poster signed by all the fighters, $350. $350 for a signed poster. Now, there are some people that definitely did buy it, and it's 100% worth it. Now, does the UFC get a kickback for the money, or does that money go towards the fighters? Who knows? I guess the money would go to the UFC and the UFC by the fighters. So then that kind of I guess cancels out my argument there. But then you had things like stubby holders that had belts on show, belts that you can purchase. Now that always fine. Even at, I've been to a fair few WWE events, and I just find it weird that you would go out and buy a belt at an arena full of people. I would be nervous taking that belt out. I'd want to buy the belt, and then I'd just want to take it home and put it up, or just put it on display somewhere and just leave it. I wouldn't want to buy it and then go through 6 hours of watching a live UFC event, because anything can happen, especially if you're sinking a couple of bevies. But yeah, the shirts, the $120 for a jumper. Just crazy money. Now, again, all the stuff's worth it. I just think there just needs to be a reduction in price. It's just absolutely insane. But again, The fanfare around the arena was awesome. The UFC do know how to put on a show. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And that is that. Oh, now, funny story, I should tell you. Now, I thought I purchased two UFC tickets. One for myself and one for whoever else wanted to go with, whether it was my partner, whether it was my friend, either or. Two tickets. Punched it in, bang, $300, $400, whatever it was. And away we go. A couple of days before the event, Stefan realizes that he only purchased one ticket. So I went and enjoyed it alone. Took videos, took photos, and conversed with absolutely nobody for 6.5 hours. Now, I also think as well, some takeaways from being inside the arena and watching the UFC live is that if you're not in the first, I guess, 6 rows, you're kind of caught between, do I watch the octagon or do I watch the screen? Now, from where I was sitting, I had a really good view of both, really good view of the octagon, really good view of the screen, but I found it hard because, especially for someone like myself, that I enjoy the event, but then I also like to, I guess, look at game plans, movement, to breaking down little things and dissecting little things that the fighters will do. You can't do that at a live event. You can't do it. You kind of stuck to looking. If you're looking at the octagon, you're kind of stuck seeing one angle. And no commentary either. Going to a live event makes you appreciate people like John Anik, DC, Joe Rogan, Paul Felder, Dominic Cruz. Whenever they jump on the mic and do commentary, it just makes it so much. I guess it fills you up with a little bit more excitement, if I can put it that way. It fills you up with a little bit more excitement when you're watching it. And things that you may not see as a viewer, especially as somebody that's not as knowledgeable with the sport, that they'll walk you through what's happening. They'll tell you, like if someone's fading or someone's got picked up an injury, you can tell that straight away. That the commentator will go, we've noticed this here. We've noticed that there. At a live event, you can't even notice that. So, and again, it's just one angle. But again, the atmosphere inside of the arena is awesome. The crowd was fantastic. The walkouts were insane. Now, did the Aussies disappoint? They definitely disappointed. They didn't perform as well as what we had hoped. It was pretty much a New Zealand takeover. Nonetheless, it was an exciting event, and let me run through it for you right now. So we'll jump into the early prelims. It started with Kalitaha defeating Bruno Silva via submission in the 3rd round. Unfortunately, Nadia Kasim fell short to Ji Yong Kim in the 2nd round. She got finished TKO. She basically, Ji Yong Kim dominated that 2nd round completely. And I think Nadia was lucky that she lasted as long as she did. Then we've got the prelims. Megan Anderson with a well-needed win against Zara Farin. Very, very good win. Very good submission there. I feel like it was a different Megan Anderson we saw, and I think she's only going to get better from here. She did hit a couple of roadblocks, but I think from here she's only going to get stronger and much better. I think she came out of this fight injury-free, so moving forward, I think she should have a quick turnaround time, and we should see her hopefully before the end of the year, if not start of next year. Now, personally, my fight of the night, and I think everybody's fight of the night, Brad Riddell defeating Jamie Malarkey. Both these guys making their debuts and putting on an absolute show. The strength and the heart of Jamie Malarkey was just amazing to see. Even for Riddell, I just think it was an amazing back and forth fight. I think Riddell definitely dominated the striking aspect, but you can't knock the heart of Malarkey, and he was giving it back to Riddell as well. So Riddell taking the one out via decision. Callan Potter defeating Maki Pitolo, and I think Potter was the biggest underdog of the card. Maki Pitolo was coming in at $1.16 before, I think it was $1.70. Oddmakers had it for Pitolo to win via TKO, and Callan Potter absolutely put the pressure on and dominated. It looked like Pitolo couldn't get out of the blocks, but Callan Potter with an amazing performance and getting the victory via decision. Another really, really good performance was Jake Matthews. Matthews defeating Rostam Akhman. Now, I was a little bit upset that the UFC didn't allow Rostam Akhman to take his shirt off. It was crazy to see that he fought with the shirt on, and I don't know how that. I guess it obviously didn't affect Jake Matthews at all because he absolutely put on a clinic. But the highlight for the event for me was definitely, like, everybody's talking about Adesanya's walkout and he's dancing and whatnot, which I'm not really a fan of. The walkout of the night for me was Jake Matthews coming out to Triple H's theme song. Now, I give him an 8 out of 10. I definitely think that the timing was perfect. He was at the end before you take your ring, I guess your walkout clothing off and get patted down and whatnot. He had the opportunity there to get the bottle of water and spit it up in the face. Perfect timing as well. Chose not to. If he had done that, that would have went absolutely viral. Nonetheless, amazing walkout and amazing performance for Jake Matthews. The main card. Knockout of the night. Jorgen De Castro knocking out Justin Tafa in the first round. Now, this was the heavyweight version of McGregor's knockout to Jose Aldo. These guys came out swinging. Jorgen De Castro got the better. Justin Tafa looked like he definitely, for me, looked like somebody that only has 3 professional fights. He's young. He's got a lot of time to build himself up, but I think that the inexperience showed, and I think he went headhunting, and he wasn't really. He wasn't really adjusting his plan. He was just looking for the big shot, and he suffered for it and got flatlined, absolutely flatlined, which is disappointing to see. But again, he's another one of those fighters that will definitely be back. A couple of little adjustments in his game plan, and he'll definitely be back. The most controversial moment of the night was, I think, Diego Lima defeating Luke Jamal via decision. This was a split decision. Now, I think Diego Lima definitely dominated this, and from rewatching the fight, I definitely think that Diego Lima won via unanimous decision. So it was weird to see that one judge gave Luke winning the fight, which is weird to see. Now, the funny thing is that Diego Lima is actually he'll be disputing his win. He's looking to get the change to a unanimous decision versus obviously a split decision for his record, which is, I don't know, a bit of a waste of time, to be honest with you. And if you're looking at minuscule things like that, it's not going to really change anything. You still won. And the fact that everybody saw that you won dominantly and thought that you won via UD. So I don't think that's really going to do anything. If anything, this is hindering your stock because you're looking to fight something that kind of doesn't really need to be fought. Then I would say the upset of the night, Tai Tuivasa unfortunately falling to Sergey Spivak via submission in the second round. The main takeaways for me with Tai was that he did a really, really good job of getting out of being taken down. The issue for me is that he doesn't know how to defend a takedown. From what I can see, it didn't really look like he could defend a takedown, and there were already 10, 11 takedowns in the fight. And there's only especially at heavyweight, there's only so many takedowns that you can succumb to before you get completely gassed. Tai, again, I felt like he was headhunting a little bit, and I think what got him to the dance was he was utilizing leg kicks, utilizing knees, and was sort of striking from all angles. And haven't really seen him do that in the past couple of fights. I think he needs to use his leg kicks more, especially against somebody as tall and as big as Sergey. I think you need to utilize those leg kicks, because when he did utilize those leg kicks, he dropped him. And kind of that was in the first exchange with that leg kick, dropped him completely on the floor. So I think I've said this, and Mark said this when he was previously on the podcast. the champions are the ones that can change a game plan mid-fight. If you can adapt and change your game plan mid-fight, that's when the true champions come out. I think if you can recognize, if you're coming up against somebody that, when I heard that Spivak was, combat sambo, I was really, really nervous for Ty. And I think going into a fight, if you know this with your opponent, you should be doing everything possible to, I guess, defend the takedown and keep as much distance as possible. And how do you do that? You do that by utilizing leg kicks. So I think utilizing leg kicks and defending the takedown would have definitely done wonders for him. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. He was taken down several times and was eventually submitted. It's hard to say what's next for Ty. Again, he's another one. I feel like a broken record, but I feel like he's so young. And when it comes to Australian mixed martial arts, I understand that he's on a 3-fight losing streak now, but he's done so well in hyping up the Australian MMA game that I think if you're looking at it at a business point of view, he deserves to stay within the UFC because he's only going to get better. Also, he has almost all of Australia behind him, supporting him with whatever he does. He's doing amazing things for the community out of Western Sydney. So I think that as a personality and as a business decision, I think keeping Tai Tuivasa on is, I guess, using a WWE term, best for business. So he'll be back. He'll definitely be back for sure. I'm looking forward to see, I guess, the adjustments that he makes to his game coming into his next fight. Co-main event, ladies and gentlemen, co-main event. Ally Quinta, Dan Hooker winning via decision. Frustrating one for Al. It didn't seem like Al could get out of the blocks. He seemed like he was frozen. He couldn't really get going. Dan Hooker just looked amazing, absolutely amazing. Again, you can see the toughnesses of Al, but Dan Hooker, he just absolutely dominated with the strikes. I mean, 104 total strikes landed versus 38 of Al. It just seemed like Al was just in his shell. I don't know whether it's the trip to Australia. I don't know if it's a bit of stage fright. Can't be stage fright. He's come up against. He's main evented against Khabib, and I think that's what we're hanging on to with Al, is that performance against Khabib. We know that he's an elite level fighter. Otherwise, we wouldn't be, main eventing, co-main eventing fights. It just seems like in this setting on this night, Dan Hooker was the better man. Dan Hooker just showed how well he was. I think there were a lot of question marks coming into this fight. We do know, obviously, he had that fight, his last win against James Vick, which was well needed. But I think before that, against Barbosa, probably his biggest test to date, there were some questions whether how he would do against the toughness and, I guess, the grit of Ally Quinta. And he definitely showed that he's definitely can hang up there with the best in the lightweight division. So I know that he did call out Dustin Poirier after the fact, and Dustin has shot back and said he's got the Irishman next. However, keep winning and they'll cross paths. So that'll be an interesting matchup. I wonder who is there, because you've got Khabib will take on Tony Ferguson. McGregor against Dustin makes sense. He could take on someone like Cowboy or Gaethje. I think a fight against Cowboy or Gaethje would do him really, really well. A Cowboy versus Dan Hooker fight would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Got Paul Felder up there as well. That'll be another amazing matchup. But look, Dan Hooker's just showed that he deserves to be in that top 10 in the lightweight division, arguably the most stacked division in the in the UFC, and I'm excited to see where he goes from there. In the main event, Israel Adesanya defeating Robert Whittaker to unify the belt and become the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. Second round TKO victory, which I personally think that it probably should have been a first round TKO. The way that Rob went down at the end of the first round was was scary to see. The main takeaway for me, I think, this is most definitely the best I've ever seen Rob Whittaker, which is weird to say coming away from a loss. I think that the only thing that I think that I can say negative about Whittaker, I think, was the fact that after that first round when he got dropped and he was given a lifeline going into the second, I think that he should have gone to what he's extremely strong at, and that's his wrestling. The biggest question mark on everybody's mind when it comes to Israel Adesanya is, how does he come up against the pressure of a wrestler? He hasn't really faced that as yet. The two tests when it comes to wrestling that he's had so far was against Brunson. Brunson didn't utilize his wrestling, got knocked out. And Whittaker didn't really utilize his wrestling, got knocked out. I think going to that second round, I do think that he should have changed the game plan and said, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm having some success with my striking, but it was evident that Adesanya was getting the better of the striking exchanges. So what do? I wrestle and test him on the ground. Whittaker is, I would say, an Olympic level wrestler. He had made the Commonwealth Games and obviously had to pull out because of mixed martial arts UFC commitments. But he was on the Commonwealth Games team as captain of that team. So he's an Olympic level wrestler. I know it's Commonwealth Games, but I'm going to say that he's an Olympic level wrestler. That's not to say his striking's not there, because his striking is 100% there. And he definitely hit Adesanya. But I just think that if I had released a podcast previous to the event, I think I would have turned around and all the conversations that I had leading up to the event as well with friends and other colleagues and whatnot, was that in order for Whittaker to have success on the feet, striking, he's going to have to cop some shots, and he definitely copped some shots, hence why he got knocked out. There were the two instances, and they were exactly the same situation. It was an overhand that just clipped him, and seemed as though he didn't really see it coming. What's there to say about Israel Adesanya? I mean, he's put the middleweight, he put everyone in middleweight to shame. Clinical performance against one of the best in the world. And that's it. I think the way that he handled himself all throughout fight week, obviously the entrance that everybody was an absolute fan of. Personally, I wasn't a fan of. I think when it comes to dancing and a little bit of a fanfare before the event, I think this is maybe my personal opinion for what I would do, but I like to be extremely focused on the job at hand. Not so much that you start overthinking, but I believe in the whole visualization process. I visualize me walking. I guess if I relate it to my career outside of this, which is football, I visualize myself walking out into the field. I visualize myself, going through movements, kicking, making a save and whatnot. I think as a fighter, and you see a lot of it as well, the focus and running out and just being in the zone. And I think when you start adding in distractions like the dancing, all the antics and whatnot, that's when you start to get a little bit distracted. However, you can tell that Adesanya handled himself well, and he can handle all these things on top of the fight game as well. He showed us that on the weekend where, did a routine inside before the walkout, did a routine inside the octagon, and became the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. So definitely can see that he can handle that. So I think in regards to what's happening now with him and John Jones and whatnot, I think that needs to be put aside, and he should be focusing on the middleweight division. I know they came out with a tweet and said, look, let me defend my belt a couple of times, then I'll come for you. I personally think that he will have trouble against John Jones. However, you can understand what Adesanya is doing. You can understand that he's creating more hype and more hype and more hype and setting up things and planting little seeds everywhere for himself. So I think he needs to focus on the middleweight division, get a couple of decent wins in the middleweight division, and then move on. In terms of what happens next in the middleweight division, I definitely think that Rob Whittaker is still one of the greatest mixed martial artists on the planet Earth. I think what happens now is you've kind of created a little mini tournament. I think with Till going up and facing Gastelum, I think that the winner, I think Rob should fight the winner of Gastelum and Till. I then think that obviously Paulo Costa and Adesanya will fight. And then the winner of Whittaker versus Till or Gastelum will take on Adesanya again. In the meantime, you can have Romero versus Cannonier, and then the winner of that will versus the loser of maybe Till and Gastelum. But I think definitely 100% Whittaker's still up there. Again, after the fight, he showed us that, you know, he didn't come away injured, he didn't come away hurt. Yes, he was knocked out, but he didn't come away injured or hurt. He wants a quick turnaround time, he wants to be back in there. So I think he may have to probably wait for that Gastelum-Till fight, which is extremely interesting. But I think what Adesanya's done is he's brought back a little bit of excitement into this middleweight division. I think now we're at a stage in all the divisions bar light heavyweight, where all the divisions now are starting to move around and get exciting again. I think that for such a long period of time, the lightweight division and the heavyweight division, lightweight, featherweight, and heavyweight were the three divisions that were heavily pushed and the most exciting. Now I feel like it's more spread out, and every single division has its little stories and little matchups here and there, which is making it really, really exciting. So it just makes me excited, because now I can tune into any fight night and know that there's going to be ramifications somewhere. There's going to be movement around the rankings and whatnot somewhere. So yeah, overall an amazing UFC 243. Now that I can give my little rankings as a whole, and I have the luxury of not having to search up what the currency is for my country. My country is Australian dollars. I rate this one a good $8 out of 10. $8 out of $10. I give this one great card overall. Unfortunate for the Australians. But on to the next one. Also, congratulations to everybody that attended the event, the most attended UFC event of all time, 57,000 people strong. Boom, boom, shake, shake the room. What's next? Let's chat about some stuff happening in the news. Let's do it. Oh, good. All right. So let's start here. Anthony Rumble Johnson wants UFC return in April, but isn't in the USADA testing pool yet. So it's obviously we know that I think that you need about a 6-month period in the testing pool before you can be eligible to fight. Obviously, everybody knows that because the issue with Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt at UFC 200, they waived that, and then he tested hot anyway, which is insane. But I think he wants to come back in as well against Francis Ngannou. He wants the Ngannou matchup. He'll be clearly returning as a heavyweight this time round. Rumble said in the past he's around 240, 245. Here we go. Rumble Johnson says he has not yet re-entered the USADA drug testing pool. Not sure when he'll do that. I'm just training. He said the heaviest he got was 276 when he wasn't training during retirement, which is absolutely scary to see. Now, if he's going to take on somebody like Francis Ngannou, I wonder how his big head is going to handle the power of Francis Ngannou. That's a very scary matchup, and somebody will definitely be hurt. Someone was definitely going to be hurt. Khabib Nurmagomedov targeting Tony Ferguson fight. in March or April next year in Russia. So Khabib has come out and said that it will be in March, April. I said it clearly. I want the fight in a large arena, and the only large indoor arena in Russia is Gazprom Arena. That's in St. Petersburg. I believe Zenit St. Petersburg play out of there, the football team. I have to say that Tony Ferguson deserves it more. You have to give him credit. He's on a 12-fight win streak, and he deserves it more than Conor. Conor has to come back and stop hitting old people. He's a professional fighter. He should come back, win, earn his place, and get in line. Which is true. Coming from a Conor McGregor dick rider, as I've previously mentioned many times in this podcast, I do think that McGregor does need to come in and face somebody before he throws himself back into the title conversation. Somebody like Justin Gaethje or somebody like Dustin Poirier will definitely do that for him. But undoubtedly, the fight to make in the lightweight division is Nurmagomedov versus Ferguson. I would like to see that at the end of the year, but March, April for me, it's fine. I'm happy with that outcome altogether. Probably the biggest news that came out of this week was in regards to the partnership that Ryzen and Bellator have made. Now, I think it was always known that they had a bit of a partnership here or there. They had a little bit of agreement where their fighters can come in and out. But the biggest thing to come out of it was the fight announcement of Fedor Emelianenko against Rampage Jackson, Quentin Rampage Jackson. They'll be main eventing the Bellator Japan card on December 29th. And this event will be the first event for Bellator in Japan. Which obviously will be taken over run by Ryzen. But I think this fight is probably 10 years a little bit too late. 10 years too late. I think that it's an amazing matchup, and I think it's definitely big enough to headline a pay-per-view. But I think it's more so for excuse me. I think it's more so for people that are interested in, I guess, know who Fedor is and know who Rampage Jackson is, and I guess you're going to get the fantasy matchup that we've all wanted to see. But again, like I said, it's about 10 years too late. So people that are tuning in that are relatively new to mixed martial arts and don't really know who these people are going to see diminished versions of the two fighters that we both fell in love with, you know. But nonetheless, as a degenerate, I'm very, very excited to see this fight. Now, personally, I think that Emelianenko does have a bit of a weaker chin nowadays, and I don't think Rampage has necessarily lost all of his power. So I do think that Rampage does have the advantage going into this fight. However, they're both retirees, so who knows what's going to happen. Now, are they going to be on the juice? Most likely going to be on the juice, because I don't know if Ryzen or Bellator do any type of testing at all. Now, do I hope they're on the juice? I definitely hope they're on the juice. So, again, exciting fight to look forward to on December 29th. Weird bare knuckle news. Two little news bits for bare knuckle. Bare knuckle have signed Hector Lombard. Hector Lombard has signed on with bare knuckle, which is again really scary. I don't know why all these big scary dudes want to jump into bare knuckle fighting. It scares me. It definitely scares me. So he's come out and said, he's come out with a statement and said, "I've wanted to fight for this amazing organization for a while, and I'm excited that it's all come together. Bare knuckle fighting championship is the next level of fighting, and I am glad to be a part of it." And then Feldman, the president, has come out and said, "Hector Lombard is one of the most devastating punches in MMA history, and we are looking for Hector to make a huge splash with BKFC. As a fan, I cannot wait to see how Hector does in this squared circle. He's exciting and explosive. This is an incredible signing." It scares me. Again, very, very, very scary thing for somebody as big and as strong as Hector Lombard fighting bare knuckle with the force and the power behind, with no padding, with absolutely no padding. Now, I have the ugliest knuckles I've ever seen, and my knuckles can be resemblant of razor blades. Now, if this, you know what, this knuckle here, I don't know if you can see that, the second knuckle, this one right here. this knuckle is resemblant of an elbow. Now, if you're getting punched with that knuckle there, you're getting cut open. Now, I've got amazing power behind these hands as well, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. The second bit of bare knuckle news, Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight 2 has been set for bare knuckle. We have our first bare knuckle rematch. Artem Lobov and Jason Knight. Now, this will sell 37 pay-per-views. One of them from myself, because degenerate, and I absolutely love Artem Lobov. But this will be happening, where is it? The Mississippi Coast Convention Center on November 16th. So just over a month away, this one. So just over a month away. Obviously, Artem's last fight was against Paulie Malignaggi, and he won via unanimous decision. But again, excited to see the first rematch. Not the biggest fan of bare knuckle fighting, to be honest with you, but I will watch it for the purposes of this podcast and the purposes of giving my breakdown to the people of the world. Tyson Fury. This has gotten me. I'll be honest with you. I'm a WWE fan. I do enjoy watching the worldwide. The worldwide. Why am I saying worldwide for? I don't understand why I'm saying worldwide. World Wrestling Entertainment. I do call myself a fan, and I'll be honest with you. I've kind of dropped off the rails a little bit. Raw and SmackDown have definitely, they've changed. With the season premieres, I think they changed their producers or the script writers, whatever you want to call them. And I think Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman are now writing the two storylines and taking the producer league for Raw and SmackDown. And I'm excited. So Tyson Fury has appeared on WWE television to set up a match. And obviously we also had Cain Velasquez as well. Cain Velasquez debut on Raw and came out and took on Brock Lesnar, which was extremely exciting to see. I mean, we've seen that Cain Velasquez can definitely hang up there with the guys in the WWE. Has a huge name behind him as well, and I think the storyline they're setting up with Brock is amazing. Obviously got the history with the UFC, and obviously Cain won the championship off of Brock Lesnar. But you can see that he can hang with the best of them in the WWE. But I'm excited to see Tyson Fury in there. Tyson Fury has come in and rushed Braun Strowman. I believe there was a pay-per-view maybe it was Raw. I think it was the premiere of Raw. No, it wasn't. It was at the pay-per-view. And he's come out of the... I think he was sitting ringside, and he came out and he started pointing his finger and trying to get the attention of Braun Strowman, which is good, and it's amazing to see. I'm really, really happy to see it. Obviously, Tyson Fury's trying to crack into the American market. He's had 2 fights now in the US, and by jumping into the WWE, I think does wonders for him. I think it does really, really well for him. So he's obviously making the right moves to gain more popularity that he has outside of the boxing world. That's it in terms of news. There's some news. There's a couple of news stories floating around in regards to the fight card that's happening this weekend, and that's Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Yeah, oh my god, the CTE. I thought I could have gone the whole episode without CTE, but comes towards the end. Joanna Jedrzejczyk, CTE. Joanna champion. I hate when they call Joanna champion. Joanna no longer the champion. Taking on Michelle Waterson. Let me try last up again. Jedrzejczyk. Joanna Jedrzejczyk. There we go. Main eventing against Michelle Waterson. Which is probably the most exciting. Oh, it's not bad. The card's not bad at all. Actually, you know what? This is crept up on us a little bit. This is some really, really good matchups. JJ Aldrich taking on Lauren Muller. That's a really interesting fight to kick things off. Marvin Vittori and Andrew Sanchez. Miguel Beza, Hector Aldana. Marlon Vera taking on Andre Ewell. Really, really good matchup. Davison Figueiredo taking on Tim Elliott. Max Griffin taking on Alex Morono. Ryan Spann and Devin Clark. Nico Price. Whoa, Jesus Christ. Ryan Spann and Devin Clark. The matchup of the two chest tats. Superman taking on, is that a deer? Oh, I don't even know what that is. But the two chest tats. Nico Price taking on James Vick. This is James Vick's debut at welterweight as well. So definitely tuning in to see that. With the main card, you got Eric Yaboy Anders taking on Gerald Mearshart, which is scary. Matt Favola taking on Luis Pena. Mackenzie Dern returning after producing a child to the world against Amanda Ribas. Mike Davies and Thomas Gifford. Cub Swanson and Crone Gracie, the co-main, and then Joanna and Waterson in the main event. Now, in terms of the story around Joanna Jedrzejczyk and Michelle Waterson, there was some news that broke earlier today by Ariel Helwani that I'll just read the tweet for you. This is from @Ariel Helwani. I'm told Joanna Jedrzejczyk has had a good workout this AM and does not want to. Oh, sorry, I've skipped ahead. So the original report came from Combate and said that Joanna had notified the UFC that she was unable to make the non-title limit of 116 pounds, and the UFC had attempted a cash weight agreement and pitched that to Michelle Waterson, and she said no. So she refused a cash weight and turned down a replacement fight against Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas, which is the only other strawweight fights on that card. However, here it is. If she misses weight but the fight proceeds, Jedrzejczyk would have to pay Waterson 30% of her purse per the Florida State Boxing Commission. Another option discussed was that the UFC would pay the fine on behalf of Jedrzejczyk because the UFC was notified of her weight issues days ago. The UFC has declined that option so far and historically doesn't pay a fighter's fine, which is fair, and I don't understand why the UFC would want to pay that, because Jedrzejczyk has, I think she turned around and blamed the two losses to Thug Rose on her weight cut, and now that she's saying that she can't make weight again, and I'm pretty sure she's working under the UFC PI as well. But I think another issue is that she had breast implants. That's weight that you can't get rid of. And she's copying it online with that as well. Absolutely copying it online. But now to the tweet that Ariel Helwani put out. I'm told Joanna Jedrzejczyk had a good workout this AM and doesn't want the fight to get cancelled. After it was made clear Team Waterson was not interested in the catchweight, Joanna has decided to do everything within reason to make 116. She'll be at the open workouts later today, which she has, and she's come out and she says she's not concerned about the fight, making the weight. She's not concerned about not making weight and the fight being cancelled. Jedrzejczyk has not competed at strawweight since beating Tisha Torres in July of 2018. I think the People's, I'll be honest, the People's main event is probably Cub Swanson against Crone Gracie. But this fight, and I understand why Waterson has a lot of pushback with this fight, because I think this does more for Michelle Waterson than it would do for Joanna. I think there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of push behind Michelle Waterson. Obviously, she's managed by WME, which obviously owns the UFC. So they're pushing her. And she does have an amazing story behind her, and I do think that she's got all of the hype her way. I think with a performance like this, with a fight like this, and if she puts out the performance that to match, this does wonders for her career, and obviously sets up either a title eliminator against Tatiana Suarez, potentially even a fight against Andrade or Namajunas, or even just a straight up title shot. I think the top of that strawweight division, obviously with Zhang Wei Li beating Andrade and becoming new champion, I think personally, I think probably Andrade and Namajunas should fight. I think Suarez does deserve the next chance at the title, but I think the winner of this one will either get the title shot or potentially the winner of Andrade again and Rose Namajunas. But who knows if Rose even wants to fight anymore? We haven't really heard from her since she lost the title. So yeah, that's that. That is that. In terms of my predictions for this weekend's fight, I think if I look at the card, Let's go. Luis Pena against Matt Favola. I do think Luis Pena gets this one done. I think either by decision or via TKO. I think Mackenzie Dern defeats Amanda Ribas via submission. I think Kron Gracie defeats Cub Swanson via submission. And the main event, if it goes ahead, I think Michelle Waterson defeats Joanna Jedrzejczyk via decision. I think Michelle Waterson gets it done. The Karate Hotter gets it done. Defeats Joanna Jedrzejczyk via decisione. That's that. That's it. I'm done. I'm finished. I've got nothing else to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please check us out on social media, Facebook, at Across the Cage AU, at Across the Cage AU, Instagram at Across the Cage, TikTok at Across the Cage, Twitter at Across the Cage AU. I've been Stefan. You've been listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you this time next week. Take care. Ciao.